This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
A world champion, a 3-time Olympian, a broadcaster, now fitness guru and CEO of his own coaching company. This is the first of a new season of Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and over the course of the next couple of weeks, before we have an avalanche of Winter Olympics news, action, athlete stories and interviews, I'm delighted to say we're going to be hearing from some of the great British stars we've had the privilege of covering on this podcast and on UK commercial radio for the past few weeks, past few months, and in some cases, years. So listen up and enjoy.
I'm Adam Gemili, CEO of Adam Gemili Fitness. I guess you could say CEO.
So why did you set it up? Obviously, you were beginning, I guess, to think about, what happens after competitive track and field.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of things after I've been doing professional track and field since I was 18. So it's been my whole adult life, really. I've worked with the best sort of coaches, the best nutritionists, the best S&C sort of coaches, the best of everyone for so many years. And as my career started to sort of wind down a little bit, coming to the back end, I sort of wanted to explore what different options I've got going forward. People say go into media. I always wanted to work in governance. It's very hard to get into that in our sport, I think, but maybe one day. And then obviously the way social media is, I feel like there's so much information online that is pretty incorrect, and I would see a lot of stuff and sort of almost cringe and go, this is not right, and people hear something, and there's so much misinformation out there, and I help a lot of my friends, my family, and people say to me, why don't you look to help other people? So I set up my coaching business, and love it. To be honest with you, it's hard for me to be an online coach because I prefer to be in person, and I do stuff in person with clients, but it's I hold everyone to a high standard. I hold everyone to sort of the standard that I used to live and train at, and it works. I know the way to get results, and it's just keeping people accountable and making them commit to it. So it's loving it. I'm really, really enjoying it. Although I don't get the improvements from myself, I really get that same feeling when I see people that I work with improve, and it's there's not really a feeling like that.
What sort of people do you work with? Is it elite athletes or is it everybody?
No, everybody really. To be honest with you, I don't really work with any elite athletes. I do some help a couple of the sprinters that ask for my help, but normal everyday people, a lot of people who actually don't really have much experience in sport. I was working. Well, we just finished last month our challenge, but from January I started working with a client. You won't mind me mentioning him, called Michael. He'd never really run. He couldn't even run like a mile before. And we just completed a challenge. So we've been training since January, and in August we just completed our challenge, 100 miles in the month. And he was, like I said, he'd never run before. There's people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sort of ages, male, female, big experience in sport. A lot of older people who used to do sport when they were younger, or used to do gym when they were younger, and just want to get into good habits and good routines. So no, I work with everybody. You just got to have the attitude and commitment to make yourself better. And yeah, I'll show you the right ways to do it.
How can we get in touch then?
Yeah, I have a website, adamgemilifitness.com, just gone live. So you can go on there, fill out my form. I'll get back to you and we'll sit and have a call and discuss your goals and how I can be maybe the person to help you reach them. And yeah, it's normally I'd suggest for people to do sort of a 90 days. People expect 1 or 2 weeks and I want to see lots of change, but realistically, if you're looking to make changes, they've got to be in the lifestyle as well. And I'd say normally 3 months is a good base for that. And I'll teach people everything that I sort of know over my sort of 15 years in professional sport, and then yeah, leave you to it. And if I'm always here if you need any help and advice, and it becomes more of a friendship. We check in every week, and yeah, I've got some really cool people that I work with that have teach me a lot about life as well. So it works both ways, and I'm yeah loving it.
Well, we wish you well with
Thank
that
you, mate.
project. You said that you'd been in professional athletics since the age of 18, but I assume that because you were doing football before that as well. I mean, sport is your life, isn't it?
It's all I've known really. So I joined. I was very lucky to. I've always just had a knack for sport. I think being naturally fast, especially when you're a young kid, you just get into every sport just becomes a lot easier. I was lucky. I got into football and I signed for Chelsea's academy when I was 8 years old. So I've been in top level of sport, I guess, for my age group since I was sort of 7 8 years old, and I've seen and been amongst sort of the best athletes, the first team, seeing the Chelsea's first team, one of the best first teams in the country for so many years, and watching and learning the right ways to be, and then yeah, played football until I was 18, then changed into athletics, and then went straight into a home Olympics. It was sort of like I've not really had. It's funny because my girlfriend said this to me the other day. She's, "Have you actually had a proper job before?" And I said, "Honestly, I haven't. I actually haven't. Like I've done some bits and bobs. My dad used to have a calf. Used to do a little bit in a calf when I wasn't training, but more often than not, it's actually just been sport has been my whole life. So it's I've been very fortunate, very lucky from a very young age to have been in sport for so long, and I want to continue and stay in sport in some aspect or one or another.
Why the choice to move into athletics and not stay in football, where you could be enormously richer than we
Yeah.
all are put together now, I
Yeah,
guess?
for sure. I guess for me it's I've never really done sport for money. Money's great and obviously but for me it's always about legacy and setting a good example and doing what you love. If you're not happy with what you're doing every day, and that I remember that decision very clearly with Dagenham. I was playing at Dagenham and Redbridge at the time, and I just got offered a pro contract there, and they were like I dabbled in athletics a little bit the year before. I'd done European juniors. I was at college. I was probably the only one in my team that was taking college seriously. Did my UCAS. Applied for different universities because for me, my parents, that was always the most important thing. Please go to university, get your degree, then you can do whatever you want in sport. And football at the time it was very different to how it is now. They didn't really care that much about the education, so it was more like if you sign this pro contract, you can't do athletics anymore, you can't go to university, and it wasn't like a multi-million pound contract. It wasn't a lot of money at all, and I dabbled in athletics and done okay. Like for really never even having done any training, I just rocked up to a few races and been competitive, and we made the decision at the European Juniors. I met a coach called Michael Afalaka, who I've actually finishing my career with now, which is great that we've linked up again. And he was like, "Oh, if you ever fancy coming down and training," so I was like, "Do you know what? Let me train and see how it goes." So I literally remember it was the new year. It was like January 12th or 13th or something like that in 2012. And I remember going into Dagenham and saying to the guys, listen, I'm really thankful for the opportunity. I'm going to train for athletics this year now. I'm going to stop playing football. I want to give it a go and see how the rest of the year goes. And they were like, yeah, fantastic. We wish you all the best. If that doesn't work and you want to come back to football, come back at the end of the summer. And I was like, oh, great. I'll probably end up doing that. Like, I don't know how athletics will go. And honestly, like 6 months later, you're lining up wearing a GB kit, feeling the most imposter syndrome I've ever felt. Like it's crazy when I think back to that time and how quickly it all did sort of happen, and lining up on the start line, and you've got a Safa Powell next to you, or you see Usain Bolt in the call room, and 6 months, honestly, 6 months, 7 months before, I was at Dagenham and Redbridge. I was tying my football boots up, cleaning the balls before we go out to train, or cleaning the boots of the first team, like whatever we had to do in the youth team. It was it was like two different worlds apart. But yeah, once you sort of go to a home Olympics, you think you're sort of stuck in the sport. And yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved that it was individual. I loved that I didn't have to well, not that you don't rely on a team, but I like that I could really compete head to head with other people. And that is the part I do love about athletics. It's doesn't matter who you are, where you are on from in the world. We're going to line up head to head, man to man, and we're going to see who the best athlete is on the day. And that's something. There's no opinions in athletics either, which is very different to football. It's if you run a time, or you hit this mark, no one can say, oh, was it done here? Was it done there? So I'm so grateful I made the change. Obviously, I might have had a little bit more money if I'd stayed in football, but again, sport isn't about money. It's about the memories. And I reached a level in athletics that probably I wouldn't have reached in football if been a footballer. Probably had a lot more money, but you don't do sport for money. So I was for I'd say probably for a good 12 years of my career in and amongst the fastest men in the world. I feel like I've cemented myself in sort of history of sprinting, especially in the UK. Maybe not the fastest, but I was definitely competitive on a global level at championships, and that's something I can always be very very proud of. And one day, if I have kids of my own, I've got medals that I can show them. Your dad used to be quite fast. Look at this. He's won a few medals here and there. He's travelled all around the world, and yeah, he's competed for his country, which is something again. That's one of the proudest moments that I have is that I was able to put on that jersey and yeah, compete for Great Britain and try and do us proud.
That's a remarkable story. I didn't realise actually that it was so little time between Dagenham and Redbridge, and wearing
Yeah, it
those
was.
Bobby Dazzler white and gold outfits, stood behind Chris Hoy, the Queen, and James Bond, and singing "Hey Jude" with Paul McCartney at the end. London 2012. I mean, what an entrance! What an arrival into
It
the
was
world
insane.
stage.
Yeah, I remember. Do you know? I remember being in the village, and I remember calling my mum and dad, and I was like, I've just seen Serena Williams. I've just seen David Beckham's walk through the village. I've just seen Chris Hoy. I've just seen, and even on the athletics team, I was like, I've just seen Jess Ennis. Mo Farah's talking to me. I'm texting like my friends like, and they're like, what? Because it's a different world from now. I've lived in it. Now I know that these people, like it's slightly different. But when you've come from literally from nothing, I'm a boy from Dartford who was playing football, and 30-40 minutes down the road at the Olympic Games representing GB. It's yeah, it does make me proud to look back and say that. Maybe at the time I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now, but it was a very special time that the country was alive in 2012. I think if people could go back and live in Olympics again, I think in London that was so special. I the streets were great, and obviously being a home Olympics and in the sprints, the 100 meters, and the 100-meter sprinters weren't popping that year. They weren't as fast as they are now. It was a bit of a dip, I'd say, in British sprinting. And for me, this 18-year-old to sort of burst onto the scene, there was a sort of a lot of attention and a lot of press, which as an 18-year-old kid who was very introverted, you soon have to learn to come out of your shell and yeah, sort of embrace it as much as you can. So it was a special time.
You always spoke incredibly well, Adam. I actually remember interviewing you when the team was announced. I think we were in Stratford
We were in
in
Stratford, I
one of
remember.
one of the
Yep,
tour builds. Your mum was there as well, and I
of
was
course she
interviewing
was.
you
Yeah.
for LBC. And you always spoke so incredibly well. But am I right in saying as well, it was Super Saturday morning, and you were in the heat with Usain Bolt
I was
because
Asafa Powell was in my heat. You
okay,
saying yeah, Asafa Powell was in my heat, and
yeah,
I knew obviously I honestly I didn't. So I remember watching the '08 Olympics, and I didn't really know much about sprinting. And I'd heard the name Asafa Powell, never heard the name Usain Bolt. And my dad was like, "Oh, there's this guy who's going to win it, Usain." He was like, "Did you see what he's doing?" Obviously, see what he did there. But for me, Asafa Powell was always one of the first biggest names that I'd ever heard. And the fact that I was in his heat for the Olympics, I remember texting my dad the night before, and obviously seeing it was Asafa Powell. I was like, or whenever it was, I think maybe even that morning, I was like, Asafa Powell, Dad, and he was like, just do what you do, just do what you do. But I think I know he was a bit excited and a bit like, oh, this is a guy we've seen on TV a lot. So mental. Like I said, big imposter syndrome, massive imposter syndrome.
Well, not at all, because you did your job, and you
Yeah.
did what you needed to do. And I know we'll move on to Rio in a moment, but just on Usain Bolt, for me, I always knew who he was. I think genuinely people still know who he is,
Oh,
and from an athletics point of view, I'm not sure that's a great thing that most people still think Usain Bolt's the most famous athletic player. But is he like Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal? Was he that good?
in honestly, and I'm this is coming from a guy that's been at the top level of sprinting for so many years. This guy was in. He's so incredible at his best. You can't even get close. It's the first time. So the first thing he ever said to me was, "Man, you came from football. I want to be in football. What are you doing? You're crazy being in athletics." I was like, "No, I'm not loving it." He said, "Okay, you'll see." But the first time I raced him was the year after in 2013, and I was 19. I just run sub 20 in the heats of Moscow. In the semi-final of Moscow, I was in really good form. I was really confident, and so I got a preferred lane, and he was on the lane inside of me. So I remember starting, and to this day, no one's ever done that to me. I've raced the best in the world. I've raced Blake, Gay, Lyles, everyone. I've raced all the best. To this day, it is the only time where it felt like someone was just going further and further and and so when you sprint, when you're accelerating, you get to about 50, 60 meters, and then everyone starts to sort of like hit their top end speed, and then it's everyone sort of decelerating. But this guy, honestly, it just felt like he had his foot on the gas, and he just kept going and going. And I tried to go with him, and that's when I realized there's levels to the game, and this guy is at the top level. He's the best in the world. He's I don't think we'll ever see an athlete that dominant, that with that much charisma, that much showmanship, who I think will be living off athletics will be living off of Usain Bolt for a very long time, which is a shame to say, but he was so special and so unique. And yeah, I feel very fortunate again when I've got kids to say I competed in an era of Usain Bolt. I probably had a front row seat to the Usain show, but at least I was there in the lanes next to him rather than sitting at home. So no, super special, super special.
Yeah, John and I have only got photos of us in a mob with a microphone in front of him, but still pride of place in the downstairs
Oh,
loo.
do you know what? I've got some funny pictures. I might show you after the after we stop recording of some nights out with Usain. He's a good guy. He knows how to party, and he's very. The thing that I loved about Usain and why he's so respected is because he treated everyone with respect. It doesn't, even though he could be such a superstar and ignore everybody. It doesn't matter if I was an 18-year-old kid, I was a 31-year-old man. Like he would treat me with the same respect, and that is why people love him.
I think John and I would echo that because I remember like at the World Championships in London in 2017, we were in like interview position 150, but Usain gave us his time as much as he gave interview position number one.
Yeah.
Final just thing I just wanted to ask you about Usain. What was his difference? Was it just a natural ability? Was it his physicality? Because like you say, he never sort of gave the impression that he trained really hard or did all the right things, but he
No,
must.
he did. Honestly, he did. You see him. Firstly, he was a specimen of an athlete. A specimen of. When you sit next to him in the call room, you see him put his spike on. Obviously, you see his foot. Firstly, his feet are like it's like having a shovel on the end of your leg. It's like it's so big and so stiff. When it hits the floor, he's able to just bounce off, lose no time at all. He's so tall, and his presence. He's so muscular. He was so muscular, like he was a specimen of an athlete. He was so big. His stride length it was so effortless for him. Like he would put one stride down at top end, and he would just his stride length was it must be nearly 3 meters. When most sprinters, if you're getting 2.3 to 2.4, 2.5 meters, that's pretty world class. So and he's closer to 3 meters per step. It makes a massive difference. And the guy can start. He's got six. People always say Usain had a bad start, but the guy ran 6.2 for 60 meters, like recorded. Like it's the guy was a flying athlete. Like he was yeah, super brilliant. He's just a specimen, honestly.
So Usain Bolt, 2012. You didn't come up to him then, but you say you ran with him in 2013. Talk to us about Rio because
Rio, the one that got away. Oh,
Thickness of a vest. Go on, say it. That's what everyone says.
It's honestly, it was. I made some mistakes. I went into Rio with so much support from so many people. very much in the head that I was going to come away with some sort of medal. I believed it. I'd been at Europeans in 2014. 2015, I ran sub 10 and I tore my hamstring and I was sort of in the best sort of shape I'd ever sort of been in. I trained really well that winter. And then literally had so much support going into 2016. And I'd learned a lot from racing Usain in previous years. He was in that 200-meter final. And I knew if you try and go with Usain on the bend, you will mess your race up. And I had lane two, I had a really bad lane. So I was like, I need to save a little bit on the bend here. And normally the bend is where I hit it so hard and come off the bend. And I'm like, yeah, catch me if you can. And I just got the race a little bit too wrong and I dipped. And obviously, yeah, fourth place at an Olympic Games, that it doesn't really ever leave you, to be honest with you. I sort of wish it was by a little bit more of a distance, like 0.003 of a second to miss out on an Olympic medal. That one, one of the clearest memories for me is sitting down on the track, looking up at the screen and seeing fourth place it was the same time as Lemaitre, who was third, but looking up and thinking, those 4 years that I've just trained, that was the opportunity. That it's just gone in 20 seconds. 20 seconds. 4 years of work and I was judged in 20 seconds and I got it wrong. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's fourth. It doesn't matter if you get knocked out in the first round. I wasn't walking away with an Olympic medal, which was tough, which was really, really tough. It was brutal. And something funny, actually, I'll tell you, which is it's funny now. I was pretty upset at it. So on the way back from Rio, they put the whole team was on a flight back, British Airways chartered flight. We had the whole plane. Depending on what medal you got, would decide which class you get. So gold medalists were all in first class, silver, bronze, business, premium economy. And obviously I was so close to a medal. And I remember getting my ticket, going into the building, getting my ticket, and it was like 88E, middle seat. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, I was so close. They were like, doesn't matter. And I was like, fair, you're right. It doesn't matter. Fourth place or in the first round, it's all the same. So devastating. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about mental strength there and really coming back from big injury the year before. And I knew, yeah, if you had given me fourth place at an Olympic Games, maybe a few years before that, I would have bitten your hand off. But you're never fully satisfied, and I think you'd always say that with athletics, athletes are the worst critics. People criticize athletes at home. Now, why isn't he good? Trust me, athletes are the worst critics to themselves. They know. Even I guarantee you, even if someone wins a gold medal, go, I should have run a bit faster here. I should have run. There's always something. So athletes are just hard people to please. And yeah, that one did definitely sting. You can tell I'm probably still over it, but it was a part of my journey, and I would change it to a medal, but I wouldn't really change the outcome because it's definitely made me who I am today.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
This is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy. We're talking to Adam Gemili, and we were talking about Rio there, Adam. And you mentioned your parents earlier and about the importance of getting your education when you were doing football and that. Is that where the strength came from to bounce back from Rio?
Always. My family have always been... They're the people that are there in the good times and the bad times. And especially in sport as a career, if you're trying to do it, there's more often than not more bad times than good times. People only see the 10 or 20 seconds that we perform at championships, but athletes live this day in and day out, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's not just going to the track. So your family are there when things are going good, when things aren't going good. And they really gave me that strength and belief in myself that I can bounce back and come back from anything. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the support of my parents pushing me, but also knowing when to say, do you know what, you need to take some time for yourself and get a bit of perspective in what's important in your life. And like I said, they pushed me to go to university and get an education, and it's one of the things that I'm most grateful for when I look back at some of the guys I used to play football with who didn't, and seeing where they are now, maybe not making it in the football sort of as a career. I'm very, very thankful that they were very encouraging and pushed me for that.
And when you talk about bouncing back and that mental strength, a year after Rio, you were back where you had imposter syndrome
Yeah.
5 years before on the same track. And alongside your mates, you were a world champion at the World Championships in London 2017. I mean, what an extraordinary moment.
It's crazy. It was thinking back to 2017, that was like, I wish I could live that night again. It was home stadium, it was the last event. Obviously, Usain was running, so the stadium was absolutely buzzing with the vibes were just incredible. And I felt, but there was such a calm within our team, like, and being there with Danny Talbot, especially, who we'd run in the Olympics in 2012 together in the relay, and we messed it up and got our team disqualified. So we knew we'd been in that stage before. We knew the pressure was going to be on, and we just completely locked in. It was one of the only times where I've been completely sort of in such flow, in such sort of a automated state that I just knew I had to do a job. The gun went, and like my mind just went blank. It was hit the check mark, bang, and there was times that night where I was hugging those guys and I didn't want to let go, and it was, yeah, one of the most special memories that I'll ever hold. My family as well were in the stadium, my friends were there, and something I hope one day people will look back at that we're actually there in the stadium and got to witness and say, yeah, that was a very special moment of British sport that we got to be a part of, because everyone was involved in it. The reason we were always very confident, but I think the reason that what gave us that extra little percent, that extra edge, was that home stadium, that home crowd, doing it for the British people. And yeah, wow, it's incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
What can you tell us about the night after that? I asked that because the following morning,
Yeah,
you had to come and see, amongst other people, me.
yeah.
To
I
record
remember.
an interview, some random building somewhere in East London. I can't remember what it was now, but there were a few tired eyes and a few bleary heads. So
Yeah, so a couple of people. So obviously the girls did well as well. The girls
Yeah.
medaled, and so there was definitely celebrations in the hotel. But I remember, so a couple of the guys, I think Nathaniel and CJ, they went out to, I can't remember, this really expensive restaurant that was open really late. And I remember I was just exhausted. I wanted to shower because obviously you're still in kit. We'd had doping, so we got home. We got back to the hotel probably at like 12 o'clock or something. I remember sitting in the lobby, and Danny looked at Danny and went, what now? And he was like, should we order some food? So we ordered some food, and I can't remember what we ordered. It was from the hotel. They did us some food, and honestly, I didn't go out. I just went up to my room and couldn't sleep. I was calling people. I was just on the phone all night, like just so excited. Couldn't really comprehend what had happened, and trying to watch the footage back to see what it looked like. And it was phenomenal. But I know a couple of people definitely went out, and then they were like, yeah, be in the lobby at like 7 a.m. And people were like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's the job's not done yet. This is also part of that job. And yeah, that's maybe, yeah, very tired. I remember doing a lot of interviews the next day, and trying not to sound the same in every interview that you give, but you just obviously full of so much emotion and elation that you just want to convey it. And yeah, it was. I was really glad I had the other boys with me. I would hate to have done that alone. It would have been very, very tough. So it was nice to sort of go through that tiredness together. But it was a good tired.
Yeah, I can remember Nathaniel coming up to me afterwards, actually, and he just went, "I'm so sorry, man. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry." He's like, "I don't know what I've just said.
He definitely went
I'm
out.
just sorry."
He most
That
definitely
surprised
had a
me.
couple of drinks for sure, which are well deserved, because he anchored it against Usain and Christian Coleman, and absolutely whipped them both. So it was we were pretty happy.
That was 2017, and then obviously we're preparing for Tokyo. How much did the delay
Oh,
and
oh.
the fact that games couldn't take place, and we all know the reasons why that had to happen, but how much do you think, when you look back now, did that play a part in what happened to you in Tokyo?
Yeah, massively. Do you know, it's the same. It was the same for everybody, but so going into that 2020 season, obviously 2019, I'd just come fourth at the Worlds. I was in such good shape physically, mentally. I was in America. I was training with the best sprinters in the world. Andre De Grasse, Trayvon Bromell, Hakeem Tani Brown. Like I was, we had such a good setup. We were absolutely flying. I had probably one of the first times in my career a completely uninterrupted winter, no injuries. Like it got to about, I think it was March time, and I was like, what's happened? I was a bit like, sort of, what's happening here? Like I'm still healthy. I'm running so fast. I can't believe it. I'm gonna go and win the Olympics. I was so honestly, that's how I felt. And then I remember COVID all happened, and I was stuck in America, and being stuck in America during COVID was a really really strange time for me, and being away from everyone, and it definitely, my mental definitely sort of deteriorated a little bit. I wasn't as on it with my discipline as well, and I was like, yeah, I've got a whole year now. COVID will be back, like 2021. I'll get myself back into good shape, and it just killed my momentum so much, and I really struggled with fitness that year. Like I had a few injuries, I was getting back into shape, like my body just couldn't get my body right. And yeah, got to Tokyo, and literally the last run in the warm up, it was my last block start, and I've done block starts all year thousands of times throughout my whole career. And the last one, I got to 20 meters, and I was going hard to 20 and then float that last 10, and I got hard to 20, and I just felt my hamstring just go bang. And I knew straight away. My coach was like, "Oh, is it cramp? Is it cramp?" And I was like, "You know when you know." And I was like, "Just wrap it up, please. Just wrap it tight so I don't feel it, and let me try." And I just couldn't. And yeah, again, for 5 years of waiting from Rio, literally gone in 10 seconds, and it was brutal, absolutely brutal. I don't know if I was dehydrated. I don't know if it was just the stress of the occasion. I don't know. Maybe I didn't sleep well the night before, but these are all stuff that you should be prepared for. And I just, yeah, devastating, devastating. And that one hurt more than any other champs, because it was one of my last tries to go for an Olympics, and try and bring home a medal. And I'd been training with Andre, who ended up winning the Olympics, and I've been training with him, running him very close, beating him in a lot of reps as well, which is, I felt like if I could actually get out there and perform, I had a very good chance. Maybe not of winning it, maybe of getting myself in the mix. And you look at the guys that medaled, but I was training with the guy that won it, and beating him on a lot of things. So I was like, that was the hardest thing for me to sort of comprehend, with that. I believed, and no one's going to give it to you, but I know at championships I would always perform well. And yeah, that opportunity was taken away from me, and that one, yeah, stung a lot.
I know we're going to talk about your experience of being a media pundit in a moment, but with your media pundit hat on,
Yeah.
do you sit and look at your Olympic career and think what may have been? And I know that's a really horrible question to ask, but it just wasn't meant to be, was it?
No, I
Unfortunately.
think that's what happens in sport. Unfortunately, it's not. There's no guarantees in sport, and that's what makes it so exciting. That's what makes it so brilliant to watch, and such a spectacle. But I do look back, and I think 2012 burst onto the scene. It was great. No one, like, just missed out on the final. Rio just missed out on the medal. Tokyo injured in the warm up, and was training and beating the Olympic champion. Sometimes things are just not meant to be, and I learned a lot. But I definitely look back at that and think, yeah, a little part of my heart breaks, because that's the one we're all chasing. That's the medal that I have medals from every champs apart from the Olympics. And yeah, that's the one I wish I could maybe go back and change a little bit. But like I said, it's part of my journey, and it happened for a reason. So I believe everything happens for a reason. So we'll see.
And bringing it up to the near present, I don't know whether it's any consolation, but you did get to the top of the Olympic podium as far as the British Sports Journalism Awards were concerned, because you were part of a gold medal winning team with Talk Sport. And, we were so grateful to have you there. You were always the first name on the team sheet, even though at that point we know that you were still obviously trying to qualify. And I remember seeing you in Manchester at the British Champs, and you weren't competing. So I think it was a pec injury, wasn't it?
Yeah, I ruptured my pec in doing bench press, of all things. Honestly, it's not even a sprinter injury. I was doing gym. It wasn't even heavy, and I pushed it, and my pec just went nope, bang. And then I was just like, yeah, cool. Do you know what? The Olympics and me are just maybe not meant to go. But like I said, I got to experience it in such a different capacity. That's something that I was so grateful for and thankful for that opportunity. And honestly, I loved it. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I learned so much and got to see the sport from such a different perspective and made friends with so many people that I would never really have crossed paths with properly. And like say you guys getting to know outside of a call room, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
It was pretty cool, wasn't it, to be sat there in that stadium and look down the line. It was for me. I suspect it was for you as well. There's Daley Thompson and Tessa Sanderson and Seb Coe that night, and Kelly Holmes having to give up her chair to let Seb Coe come in. I mean, that's just crazy.
It was I don't know. They did such Talksport did such a good coverage of that event, and I'm so grateful that we were part of that team. And we got, like I said, we were top of the podium. We got a little recognition for that, which is fantastic. So I really, really hope that that momentum continues. And yeah, I learned so much from that. And I remember speaking to Kelly as well, and we were speaking just before about how much athletes we appreciated that opportunity and learned so much. And yeah, see, I've known Daley Thompson for many years, but not actually had that much of a personal relationship with him. And seeing him every day at the stadium, and there was many days where he wasn't even on air, and he was just sitting there watching it and talking to me, giving me advice. And I was like, this is an experience that people would pay so much money for, and I'm getting it. I'm getting front row seats to some of the best athletics in the world, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, think what it was like for us.
Yeah, exactly.
If you felt like that, I mean, it was like that tenfold for us. Where are we now in terms of we're at the end of a season now in terms of your competitive running. Where are we with things with you?
I'm not fully decided. I people always like go again, go another year, and see how you do. And I'm just like, but I feel like in this sport, you have to take your body to the bottom of the well. Like you have to find something, especially to do athletics in the level that I want to do it. I don't just want to do athletics to just coast and be, I compete still a little bit and runs. I want to be competitive and one of the best in what I do. And if I'm not at that level, which I'm not unrealistic, I know where my level is at, and I can still train and compete with the best. I've been training with Ramel and doing really good sessions with him this year. And what am I doing it for? I'm not really making any money from athletics anymore. Like so I'm just bread in my account, and I feel like I can apply myself to so many more things and share my knowledge in different ways. And now I feel like my responsibility is to sort of maybe help the next generation, maybe through coaching, maybe through governance, maybe through media, maybe through whatever opportunities come up. But yeah, I think athletics for me it's to be at that top level, you've really got to want it and live it every single day. And I definitely don't have that same mentality as I did have maybe a few years ago, where it was my whole life and it was everything, and every race mattered. And nowadays, like if I run well, great. If I don't, then it's like, okay, but I've still got a fantastic family and other things going on in my life. So to do sport at that top level, I think it's you have to have that mentality. And for myself, it's just maybe not there as much as it used to be anymore. So we'll see.
You've got so much to give to the sport, and just on a personal level, as the CEO of Gemili Fitness, you recorded a load of videos for my children's school.
Oh yeah,
which they use as their warm-ups for their running club every Friday. And Mr. Wilkinson just wanted to say, use the podcast to say thank you. I know my kids wanted to say thank you, and the rest of the running club. And I guess to finish, that's what it's about. I mean, I don't think my children want to get to the level of sport that you've got to, but they just enjoy going running and they enjoy watching your videos as part of the warm-up. And I guess that's nearly as good as an Olympic medal, isn't it?
That's exactly what you have to get for whatever level you want. Whatever level you're going to get to. For me, I always held myself to a high level, but doing sport is such a personal thing, and as long as you're happy with that, and like I said, some people making an Olympics is great, but also just making a local park run on the weekend, or just getting self fit, getting out of bed and going that can be as important as anything. So it's that's what our sport is all about, and I'm so grateful to hear that, and that they love it and they're using it and enjoyed it. So no, thanks for that's really awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's put a big smile on my face.
And I love the fact that you want to work in sport governance, because we need more people like you running the sport. And I think Seb Coe has proved that. But bless him, he's getting on a little bit. I'll
do a little bit of work with Seb, and that'd be nice. But just see what opportunities come up, I guess. So
yeah, but we need people like you. So I'm going to start
the
Adam Gemili campaign right now.
Let's go. I like that.
Look, Adam, we could carry on talking for hours, but we will leave it there. And thank you so much for talking and sharing your knowledge and sharing your story as well, and the inspiration that you have been. And good luck with your new ventures as well. And I know that we will keep in touch.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.